February is upon us. There is some exciting transits for sure. I'm personally looking forward to having Venus in Pisces until the 20th. It softens things, it brings romantic, fantasy-like, creative energy. At the same time, the Sun and Mercury will experience some of the more challenging aspects, like a square to Uranus in conjunction with Saturn, bringing breakdowns, breakthroughs, and a need to take responsibility for our actions. Let's take a closer look and do a quick rundown for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive astrology. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. Leave me a like or a comment. I truly appreciate that. It makes me feel happy and puts a smile on my face, as well as helps my channel grow. Before I dive into the forecast, you have the option to become a subscriber on my website and get a personal horoscope. In fact, you will get a monthly horoscope if you become a subscriber, plus there's additional perks. And this is a written down, very specific to you, very personal, and like helpful for helping you get through the month and know what's ahead. And Saturn is, one of our favorite planets for many of us. And at the end of January, I have harnessed the energy of Saturn in the shape of a candle and an oil. Saturn is in Aquarius. It was conjoining Venus when I created these. So Venus helps soften Saturn and bring a more constructive version of Saturn. It's still serious, it's still responsible and hardworking, so the vibes can be very productive and not as fun as, let's say, my Jupiter or Venus candles or oils, but really lovely for getting recognition, working hard, building your authority, getting the favor of authority figures, etc. Check out the links down below or check out my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Saturn leaves Pisces and not going to be in Pisces. Oh, sorry. Saturn leaves Aquarius and not going to be in the sign of rules for the next 20-something years. So take advantage of me capturing some Saturn and putting it in a jar. It has a smell of sweet tobacco. So to me, it smells a little bit like an older person might, the one person who like smokes, for example, like a grandfather. And it has 3 sapphires, rough sapphires in it. It's like gray colored candle, and the oils are very pine, kind of minty smelling. Okay, so February. February overall to me feels like a pretty calm month, except for there's some exceptions. So let's do like a rundown of the month and then do the main transits for each sign. The start of the month around like 3rd, 4th is a bit frustrating. We have Sun squaring Uranus, which feels like a repetition of, or a second part of Venus square Uranus that we had on January 14th, which could have brought shakeups to your relationships, realizations, a need to be more independent and kind of fights surrounding independence and your unique vision. So take a look and let me know how January 14th into 22nd been for you, because the Sun makes the same aspects on February 3rd, and then February 17th it conjoins Saturn. February 16th actually. So the repeat of energies from January, like some type of breakdown, breakthrough, a need for freedom, a need for independence, a sense of like the old version of you is falling behind and you're getting ready to move forward, and there might be sudden events that either you instigate or other people in your life instigate, calling you to adapt. Venus is also squaring Mars on the 4th, so it's very much like masculine versus feminine, yin versus yang, conflicts between lovers, conflicts between like parents and children, fathers and daughters, mothers and sons. So it could be frustrating, but I feel like if you approach it by being more proactive and initiating change versus letting things happen to you, you will be able to get out of it alive and while learning some things. The Venus-Mars square happens on the 4th. Venus is in the overpowering position of that square, so I think finding compromise is quite likely. And the February 4th aspect, if you are in a healthy relationship, this could be like a spark of passion or creative tension that births something, right? Like you and your partner disagree on something and you do a brainstorming session and something exciting is born out of it. There's a full moon in Leo on February 5th that is squaring Uranus, so still that same energy, a need for independence, something revolutionary happening in your life. Uranus is in Taurus, so there might be changes to your place of living, to your job, to your artistic self-expression, right? Like something needs to be changed, and then the full moon in Leo makes you follow your heart and makes you make the change, because we are at this point in an Aquarius season. Aquarius season is very rational, but around February 5th, or even that's all, it's like February 3rd, 4th, 5th, it's all the longer story. But yeah, like the full moon in Leo on February 5th is more about following your bliss, getting in touch with what makes you you, and kind of stepping away from like needing to be extra rational and thinking of yourself for a change. Mercury sextiles Neptune on the 6th, so I think there is a potential for smoothing over some of the complicated energy of the earlier. It could be lovely for compromising, writing, asking for amends, having conversations with people you are maybe struggling getting along with. There's some exciting romantic and creative opportunities around February 7th, 8th, when Venus sextiles Uranus. Maybe even financial opportunities. Whenever like you're thinking outside the box when it comes to dating someone out of your, normal scope of people you go for, or creating something unique, trying a new idea, likely to be rewarded. Mercury conjoins Pluto on the 10th, and I like the tagline for this is like darkness gets a microphone. Mercury conjunct Pluto in the public sphere can bring some kind of like public scandal, something from the darkness, like the sex scandal or some kind of secret coming to light. It could happen in your personal life as well. Like you are very intuitive, you're really good at like digging deep. Of course, the danger here is like being obsessive and seeing shadows where there aren't any. So be careful, use this powerful energy to look within, to heal, to journal, or, talk to your therapist, talk to people you love, and like break through the darkness into the light, find the light. Mercury enters Aquarius on February 11th, and until March 2nd, our thinking is more rational, we're more curious, we're more scientific, more innovative in our ideas and speech. You may come across as a bit detached, but at the same time, very good for like thinking of the future, socializing, and coming up with new ideas. Venus conjoins Neptune on February 15th. Could be very romantic time, but watch out for making like really important decisions because you may be slightly delusional at this time. It's like delusional, but it's also something that can be very powerful and very healing, right? Like you meet someone and maybe it's not a long-term relationship potential, but you have the most exciting night of your life. So Venus conjunct Neptune could be like a really fun party, somewhat like ethereal, spiritual, fantastical experience. Just make sure you're not like signing off all of your properties to someone you just met. If you're someone who has multiple properties, good for you. Saturn conjoins the Sun on February 16th. So there could be some callbacks to January 22nd when Venus conjoined Saturn. Here we have the Sun conjoining Saturn, February 16th. And I have recently realized that Saturn is kind of like Paul Hollywood, if you watch the great British baking show, where like he gives a handshake if he likes your pastry, right? If you watch this show, tell me in the comments below. I recently got hooked. It's funny because like I've had people tell me about it like years ago, and I was like, what? Baking show? Why are you liking a baking show? What is so special about it? And like now it's my Tylenol, Advil, and all rolled in one. It's like a bunch of kittens rubbing themselves all over me. It's just so happy. I love it. Anyway, so Sun conjoins Saturn February 16th. And Saturn checks you. It checks your progress over the last year. Have you done the work? And so, like I said, it's like Paul Hollywood's handshake, because if he likes your pastry, he gives you a handshake, and it's like a stamp of approval. So you may get rewarded. It might be the time when you're like, okay, I've put in the work. I'm graduating. I've put in the work. I'm getting married, or, you know, I'm making this perfect pastry, whatever it might be. And you may feel successful and accomplished. Alternatively, if you haven't done a ton of work, or if you have gotten misdirected somehow, Saturn conjunct the Sun could feel heavy and like there's a need to make changes. Good news, lucky insights, fun ideas, fortunate encounters are possible around February 17th when Mercury sextiles Jupiter. Pisces season begins on February 18th, highlighting the dreamer within us, right? We are less interested in facts. We're more interested in like aspirations and spirituality, and we may seek to escape our reality. And it's good. Like escape can be really great because it makes us create art and music, and, you know, it helps us connect with other people. But you want to watch out for being too altruistic, it's good to be altruistic, but there's always be too altruistic and you end up sacrificing yourself, right? And like, who is that serving? Maybe the person you sacrificed yourself for. But I am a Libra rising, so I'm pro balance. Venus sextiles Pluto on February 19th. This could be a very passionate time. Your relationships can deepen, transform, evolve. And February 20th is a big day. Everything happens like really early at 2 a.m. basically on February 20th. So it's like 19th into 20th. We get an inspired new moon in 1 degree Pisces. So if you have any planets between 0 and 4 degrees Pisces, Virgo, Sag, or Gemini, it might affect you even more. It's an exciting new moon. It's ruled by Jupiter sextiling Mercury, and it feels like taking action and making plans to reach your dreams. The same day, Venus enters Aries until March 16th. So from February 20th until March 16th, we are more adventurous, courageous, direct when it comes to romance and creativity. Watch out for being too competitive, and watch out for pursuing people who are not good for you, and also being like too attached to the chase versus the conquest and stability. Finally, the end of the month is really quiet. Like the transit list sort of wraps up. Doesn't mean nothing's going to happen, but astrologically, the final transit is between February 21st, 22nd, and then you have a few days of just like quiet astrology. But at the end of the month, Mercury squares Uranus and trines Mars. So here we are getting a chance to think rationally about all of the things we've experienced in January and February. All of the Uranian shakeups and uncertainty and light bulbs or breakdowns, we're getting to look at them. And I really like that Mercury trines Mars right after a square to Uranus. So even though there is a challenging potentially realization, you then have the power to move ahead and make plans and be brave and confident about your decision. So this is it. I'm going to do the horoscopes, but I will mainly look at, I'm not going to look at every single transit. For that, you can get a personal horoscope and become a subscriber on my website. I highly recommend it. You get more personal touch and more personal astrology, which, I'm a fan of. But this is more like biggest transits. If you are an Aries rising, the Sun is in your 11th house until February 18th, and Venus is in your 12th house until February 20th. So you are potentially spending more time with friends, you're socializing, but your love life is private. There might be new beginnings, or maybe you're grappling with something, you're sorting through some things when it comes to going for people who are unavailable or not so good for you. So you might be also healing behind the scenes. Early in the month, we have some drama. The sun in your 11th house is going to square Uranus in the 2nd. Look back at January 14th. Has there been any tensions between your friends, maybe issues connected to money or different values? This could be about rethinking your goals and your place in the collective. And like I said, you know, financial matters can be a bit of a sore subject, putting like a rift between you and your friends. The best way to approach this transit is always to be proactive about making changes and try to problem solve versus get stuck in the difficulty. Some conflict energy is also possible around February 4th when Venus squares Mars. Feels like you may be dealing with some kind of frustration connected to your siblings, neighbors. Watch out for being too self-sacrificial or too like passive-aggressive when it comes to solving problems. There's a full moon in your 5th house of romance creativity that is squaring Uranus in the house of money and values on February 5th. So some kind of changes surrounding your changing values, maybe changes to your finances, changes to your job that bring a completion of a creative chapter. For example, you've had hobby that you've been dedicating a lot of time to potentially, but now Uranus in the 2nd brings a pay raise and more responsibilities, and you have to wrap up the creative project. There might be changes to romantic relationship. There may be changes connected to children, both actual children or your creative children, completing a romantic relationship or moving a romantic, because like, you know, the Uranus in the 2nd house could be very much a realization that you and your partner are not on the same page. Like you have different values, or you realize that you are on the same page and you really need to commit to a relationship. But if it is the first one and you realize you're not on the same page, the full moon in the 5th house could be, I am choosing to go elsewhere. But if you are on the same page, maybe you're committing and maybe it's a new chapter of your romantic relationship. And yeah, like a child can go through breakthrough, the creative project can reach completion and peak. Professional tensions are possible around February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto. You may hear something that shakes you up. There might be some drama with bosses. There might be some power struggles, so be careful around that time. I like the energy leading into Valentine's Day. Venus conjoins Neptune in your 12th house on February 15th. So there may be a special connection that you're forming, but once again, it's like somewhat behind the scenes and there's something hush-hush about it. Maybe you are, maybe like you're just being very discreet because you're dating someone at work, let's say, but really be careful because Venus conjunct Neptune can also make someone not good for you sparkle, like a vampire from Twilight. So be thoughtful. Let yourself dive into the romance and beautiful energy, but make sure it's not destructive for you. Sun conjoins Saturn. I keep saying Saturn conjoins the sun, but it's actually the sun that conjoins Saturn because the sun moves faster. Anyways, the sun conjoins Saturn in your 11th house on February 16th. Testing your friendships, your associations with groups, your leadership skills, your hopes and dreams, and your perhaps social media projects. And if you worked hard, you can get rewarded and you can experience a sense of committing to a friendship, committing to a project, getting like a new position, let's say, a new leadership role. But if you haven't been putting in the work, or if you're not happy with your connections, this might be the time that you are called to let something go. Pisces season begins on the 18th, and we have a lovely new moon in Pisces on February 20th. This new moon highlights your 12th house. And 12th house is all about self-defeating tendencies, letting something go, healing. So you can definitely see here a need to let something negative go so that you can be a better version of yourself, choosing yourself, making plans that lead you closer to realizing your dreams. But good time to journal, good time to spend sometimes solo, because you're realizing what are you doing that is self-defeating. An example would be spending too much time on social media, going to bed too late, not expressing what is it that you truly want. So it will be unique for each person, but could be very eye-opening. Now let's look at Taurus rising. For Taurus rising, the sun stays in your 10th house until February 18th, and Venus is in your 11th house until February 20th. So sun in the 10th says that you're working a lot, you're building connections, you're building your career, while Venus in the 11th is really blessing your social connections. So maybe you're networking, maybe you're connecting with like-minded individuals, maybe you're just having fun with your friends. The month begins kind of frustrating. The sun in the 10th squares Uranus in the 1st, creating tension between your personal goals and your job or authority figures in your life. That could be like parents, bosses. Take a look back at January 14th. We had Venus squaring Uranus, so similar energy is possible. Try to be proactive about change. Try to initiate change versus get kind of slammed in your face with it. Try to, approach things from a more innovative perspective. February 4th is also tough because Venus in the 11th is going to square Mars in the 2nd, and you may experience conflicts with friends, with people in your network about money or different values. Venus is at the top of the square, meaning Venus is in the overcoming position. So I feel like you will find compromise, but maybe not immediately, maybe a little bit later, like February 6th is potentially a good day for that. There's a full moon in Leo, your 4th house, on February 5th. The full moon in the 4th house, it's squaring Uranus in your 1st house. So we're still in the same place of like you're searching for independence, you're reinventing yourself, you are on a precipice of some kind of breakthrough, right? That maybe is creating tension in the home or at work. So with this full moon in your 4th house, you are likely making changes to your living situation. You may move, you may be breaking away from some kind of unhealthy family dynamic. Let's say you are unhappy in your career, right? And you live with your parents, and your parents have like a really strong influence on you. So maybe you are ready to go study, and I actually have a client who is in this kind of position. Like maybe you feel ready to go away and move and start a new field of studies, start a new career, but first you have to deal with your existing job, you have to deal with your parents who disagree with your choices. So definitely be careful around this time, because it could be frustrating, explosive, and really encourages you to adapt and be flexible. But also honest, I think, be honest. There might be some challenges surrounding legal matters, travel, education, or some like secrets coming to light, tensions, like disagreements with other people around February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 9th house. Maybe you are kind of, finding something out about your teacher. Maybe there is some legal matter that demands your attention. Watch out for ideological debates, for things that you don't want to get engaged in, but you do. Leading up into Valentine's Day, if you're celebrating on February 15th, Venus conjoins Neptune in the 11th house. This feels like a beautiful time to get together with your friends and just hang out or go on a trip or, go to a concert. You're very generous, very loving towards your friends. Friendship can actually also turn into a relationship. And you may meet someone new through a friend or online or at a networking event, someone who like touches your soul and connects to you on a deeper level. Saturn conjoins the Sun. Sun conjoins Saturn actually on February 16th in your 10th house. This is like a completion of a year-long cycle. We had Sun conjoin Saturn in January, February last year. So this is like a testing point of what have you accomplished in a year. If you haven't accomplished much, it could be a bit depressing, right? Melancholic time, making you rethink what you've done, make some tough decisions. If you have worked hard and you've invested a lot of energy, let's say you started a business a year ago, Sun conjoining Saturn could be very much like, here's your success, here's your tax return, or you start to make money back, or you get like your first review from a client who gives you like a rave review. So it could be at the time of success and accomplishment. Pisces season begins on February 18th, and there's a new moon in Pisces, your 11th house, on February 20th. This new moon is ruled by Jupiter and Aries in the 12th house, sextiling Mercury in Aquarius, your 12th. So here you're starting some kind of new group project. It could deal with spirituality, it could deal with healing, it could deal with like your social media pursuits, your pursuits connected to like travel and foreign lands and foreign people. But definitely exciting new beginnings connected to finding your people, finding your support group, support network, and maybe even starting new social media projects, like, starting a podcast, starting a social media page, pursuing new dreams. I can definitely see as a result of this. For Gemini rising, the Sun is in your 9th house until February 18th, and Venus is in your 10th house until February 20th. So with the Sun in the 9th, you may be learning something, you may be traveling, expanding your field of vision by going to museums and interacting with foreigners and sort of looking outside of your immediate environment. And Venus in the 10th is really great for enjoying harmonious relationships and creative opportunities at work, or being creative and really enjoying creative projects. The month begins tense. We have the Sun in the 9th squaring Uranus in the 12th on February 3rd. There might be something out of your control, something connected to your mental health, to things, related to foreign lands, to some kind of spiritual matters, something that is calling you to release it, right? Like even internal fear may be affecting you, and like you need to look within and think of what needs to be changed, how you can be, let's say, better at reaching your goals, better at like being more organized and structured, and like going towards the 9th house topics. 9th house topics deal with publishing, writing, travel, education. Very similar energy to January 14th when Venus was squaring Uranus. So take a look at that. February 4th is also a bit tense. Venus in your house of career will square Mars in your house of personal goals. So maybe some kind of tension between what you're trying to accomplish and what other people are expecting of you. Masculine versus feminine, conflicts between men and women. You getting into a kerfuffle with someone you don't want to get into a fight with. Venus is in the overpowering place of the square, so you can find compromise and you can definitely learn to get along. There's a full moon in Leo, your 3rd house, on February 5th. It squares Uranus in the 12th, so still feels like something you are dealing with, still that desire to escape something, to be better at taking care of yourself, to heal, to let go of something that doesn't serve you, affecting, like inspiring change in your immediate environment. Like the full moon in the 3rd house can bring a change to your schedule, can bring a breakthrough when it comes to technology, like presenting yourself differently, starting a business, even though it's a full moon, it tends to be more about completion. But if you are, letting yourself off the hook or being a better friend to yourself, this could also represent, I think, starting something new. But expect changes to your to writing. If you started a writing project a while ago, you may be completing it. Changes connected to siblings, to technology, to neighbors, to short trips. Communication, having an important conversation is also possible here, but definitely feels like an important breakthrough. There might be some tension surrounding money, debts, taxes, kind of, all the contracts, spoken and unspoken agreements you have with other people on February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 8th house. Your intuition is strong and secrets may come out, but watch out for being too obsessive and too caught up in your own thinking to a point that you get lost in it. February 15th is lovely for your work as Venus conjoins Neptune. Could be something beautiful, creative being started at work. Could be a moment of recognition, a moment of inspiration, a moment of new beginnings. Sun conjoins Saturn on February 16th, and this is the check, the inspection of your last year. The Sun conjoined Saturn last year in January, February, so now you're like 1 year later, you come back to the same place. And here we're looking at topics of travel, education, publishing, legal matters, your beliefs, your faith in yourself and in other people, or your faith in general topic, but also I think your faith in yourself. And Sun conjunct Saturn, if you haven't accomplished much, can make you feel sad and frustrated, encouraging you to make the changes. So use this energy to go after the things that you want. Or it could also be a very rewarding time when you feel like you've accomplished a lot when it comes to your education, or you have published a book, or you're like ready to present your work. So it could be very, like I said, the time to feel successful, accomplished, and getting rewards. The Sun enters Pisces on February 18th, and we have a new moon in Pisces on the 20th. This new moon is activating your 10th house of career. It's ruled by Jupiter in Aries and sextiles Mercury in your 9th house. So new beginnings professionally that deal with social media, that deal with education, publishing, writing. You're starting a new professional chapter that likely will give you access to a larger network of people, will put your work in front of other people, and potentially present you in a role of a teacher or an educator. For my lovely Cancer risings, the Sun is in your 8th house until February 18th, and Venus is in your 9th until February 20th. So with the Sun in your 8th, you're focusing on paying debts, paying off debts, taxes, perhaps healing, looking within yourself, letting something go, rethinking your commitments to other people, and also working with other people. And Venus in the 9th is a lovely sign for learning, writing, publishing your work, presenting your work in front of other people, and traveling. The month begins shaky, so February 2nd, 3rd, 4th feel, and even 5th feel a bit rough. So on the 3rd, the Sun in the 8th house squares Uranus in the 11th. And here we have an energy similar to January 14th when Venus in the 8th house squared Uranus in the 11th, making you face tensions surrounding friendships, surrounding your finances, surrounding your freedom, how much freedom you actually have versus, the duties and responsibilities you have to address, because like Uranus in the 11th really wants to break away and pursue new things and find independence, but the Sun in the 8th says that there's still some things that tie you. We all have ties, right? We all have things that are holding us accountable. So here you're really dealing with tension between like, well, I want to go here, but you don't have enough resources, or you need to address other things. So be proactive about change. Try to take a small step toward in the right direction versus, Uranus kind of forcing you to fall on your face and then make changes. February 4th, Venus in the 9th squares Mars in the 12th. You can be shooting yourself in the foot over here, quite literally. Like, you watch out for being too hard on yourself, for making yourself work too much. It's very much like your masculine energy versus your feminine energy, or literally, you know, someone in your life of the opposite gender, or just even like of the opposite energy type can be frustrating. So look at this as an opportunity to make improvements to yourself, right? And release some self-defeating tendencies. It's funny, in my notes it says selfie-defeating tendencies. So don't defeat your selfies. Venus is in the overpowering position in that square, so she's winning. So I think finding compromise is quite likely, but it might be later in the month where you see how to solve the problem. There's a full moon in Leo, your second house, on February 5th, and that brings changes to your finances. It squares Uranus in the 11th. Uranus in the 11th could be a bringer of opportunities professionally, of like a friend brings an opportunity, some kind of breakthrough, breakdown connected to friendships that leads to a change in your values, that leads to a change in your finances. Maybe you get an opportunity to work for a friend, or you get an opportunity to start a project with a friend, or you and your friend disagree on something, causing you to separate from them or distance from them. But I think it could be an exciting financial opportunity. There might be relationship dramas around February 10th as Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 7th house. Secrets may get revealed. There might be some intensity and drama in your relationships. Watch out for being passive aggressive and like obsessing quietly or trying to manipulate your partner. Instead, be direct and maybe talk to a therapist, talk to a trusted friend, because breakthroughs and healings are also quite possible here. I like the energy leading up into Valentine's Day, if you're celebrating. If not, this is February 15th. Venus conjoins Neptune in your 9th house. And that could bring a romantic relationship with someone foreign, as well as good energy connected to travel. Maybe like you book a dream destination, a place you've been dreaming about. There could be good luck when it comes to education and publishing. You may also fall in love with a teacher or classmate, so be mindful if your teacher is married. Maybe do not fall in love with them. February 16th, the Sun conjoins Saturn in your 8th house, and this is like a testing time of how much work you've done over the course of the last year. How have you dealt with money? How have you dealt with your karmic entanglements with other people? If you have worked hard and, got close to freeing yourself from unhealthy contracts, paying off debts, and detangling yourself from that, Saturn may give you a stamp of approval and bring rewards, and sort of, if you have a debt, you pay that off around this time and you feel a newfound sense of success and freedom. But if you haven't done a lot of work, this could be a frustrating time in which you are called to re-examine your commitments and make tough decisions. Pisces season begins on February 18th, and there's a new moon in Pisces on February 20th. It is ruled by Jupiter in Aries, your 10th house. So we're connecting the house of work, career, with the house of education, travel, and publishing. So maybe you're traveling for work. Maybe you're starting a new job that has opportunities to travel, or it's a teaching position, or you're going back to school in order to improve your career and improve your professional choices. Maybe you're starting to write, or you're seeing your work get published, or becoming a teacher. Lots of exciting possibilities here. For Leo rising, the Sun is staying in your 7th house until February 18th. So there's a lot of energy surrounding dating, partnering up, business, signing contracts, working with other people. And Venus is in your 8th until the 20th. Venus in the 8th is beautiful for partnering up with other people, getting gifts from other people. I'm actually planning to give a gift to my Leo rising friend. So expect gifts, expect opportunities from other people. And let me know if you have already gotten any, and if you are a Leo rising, because Venus has entered Pisces in the evening on January 26th. So it's already here. The month begins frustrating. There might be some tensions between your relationship and your professional sectors on February 3rd when the Sun squares Uranus. Watch out, like this is, Venus squared Uranus on January 14th. And I have asked people in my stories on Instagram, and a lot of Leo risings experienced relationship frustration. So here is more tension, perhaps connected to different values, your professional life, disagreeing with your partner or your partner's goals, not being aligned with your goals. Be proactive about change instead of letting change happen to you. Try to make, decisions that help you adjust and align you better with your partner. Or this could be a time in which you decide to part ways. This is also possible. Tensions between your friendships and your, financial tensions when it comes to friendships, any like money issues, tensions between your goals versus resources you have available, or your partner's goals are likely around February 4th when Venus in the 8th house squares Mars in the 11th. Yeah, it's very much like maybe you want to spend some money, but your friends disagree, or you want to do one thing, but they have a different vision. So you really need to balance things out. But Venus wins in the square. She's in the overcoming position, so you can find compromise, even if not in the very beginning of the month, maybe a bit later. There's a full moon in your first house on February 5th. It squares Uranus in the house of career. So breakthroughs, changes related to career, status, reputation, maybe your marriage are affecting yourself. An opportunity to travel, an opportunity to, maybe you feel like you're tired of your career and you're ready to say goodbye and move to a different place, or you are, you can get a job in Paris and decide to move, or you can decide to move and then quit your job. So look at changes surrounding your physical body, your personality, and your personal projects, as well as your career. There might be some professional tensions on February 10th when Pluto conjoins Venus, Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 6th house of work. So expect intensity and some drama at work. Also, power struggles with colleagues. Be careful overloading yourself, because this could also reveal some tensions and stresses, put some stress on your health. So take good care of yourself around that time. The energy is quite lovely around Valentine's Day. We have Venus conjoining Neptune in your 8th house on February 15th. This is lovely for working with other people, for writing, for doing any kind of creative work in collaboration with other people, and potentially receiving wonderful gifts. So let me know, Leo risings, what kind of presents you're going to get on Valentine's Day if you're celebrating. And if not, maybe there is an opportunity to work with someone that is quite exciting for you. There are romantic tests coming up on February 16th when the Sun conjoins Saturn in your 7th house. And here we are revisiting your progress from last year. The Sun conjoins Saturn in January, early February 2022. And maybe that was the time in which you have been feeling pressures on your relationship or business partnership or any other kind of partnership. And this is a testing moment in which you either break it off potentially, or you realize something is no longer serving you, like a relationship is going nowhere, or a business is going nowhere, or you commit to it. Like this could also be an opportunity to make a commitment, make a partnership official, make a relationship official. And the Sun Saturn may be like about saying no, but maybe you're saying no to your freedom so that you can be in a romantic relationship. Pisces season begins on February 18th, and there is a lovely new moon in Pisces, your 8th house, on February 20th. It's ruled by Jupiter in the 9th, sextiling Mercury in Aquarius in the 7th. New moon in the 8th house is all about joining your resources with someone else, and this could be in a romantic context, or it could be in a business context. Maybe you're starting a new writing project. Maybe you are starting a partnership that involves traveling, teaching, learning, or, you know, another possibility, 8th house deals with finances. So you may get a chance to pay off a debt, get a mortgage, or do some healing. But definitely positive financial changes I can see a part of this new moon. If you are a Virgo rising, the sun stays in your 6th house until February 18th. So you're working hard, you're handling health-related matters, maybe rethinking your diet, starting to exercise more. And Venus is exalted in your 7th house until February 20th. So beautiful romantic vibes, especially strong around Valentine's Day, because Venus conjoins Neptune in your 7th house on February 15th. So like leading up into Valentine's Day, and love gets flavored with fantastical, spiritual, ethereal energy. You can definitely meet someone who touches your soul deeply if you're single around that time, around the middle of the month. Or you can experience like a deeper connection with your partner if you are in a relationship. Or if you're not interested in a relationship, this could be like a very wonderful time of alignment with other relationships in your life. The month begins shaky. The sun in the 6th house squares Uranus in the 9th on February 3rd. We had Venus square Uranus on January 14th. Take a look back, what was happening in your life at that time. This could be part 2. You may face professional tensions. Your work can get derailed, or, you know, encouraging you to like adapt. And the changes and frustrations can be connected to education. Like maybe you are ready to start a business, but your diploma is getting delayed, or you realize you need to take another class, right? Like there might be travel, publishing, legal matters that you need to attend to. Be proactive about change. Be proactive about working with this energy versus, you know, letting it disappoint you completely. There is some tension between work and relationship, masculine, feminine conflicts between you and your partner around February 4th, and as Venus in your 7th house squares Mars in the 10th. Feels like, you know, maybe you want to go on a date, but your boss is overloading you with work. Try to compromise. Try, like, you know, Venus is stronger in this specific case scenario, so you can compromise and maybe negotiate in this situation. There's a full moon in Leo, your 12th house, on February 5th. It squares Uranus in the 9th house. So you may experience those breakthroughs or tensions or frustrations connected to education, travel, legal matters, publishing. They can inspire some kind of change within you. It could be a change in belief. It could be an understanding of how you are sabotaging yourself. Like, let's stick with that whole thing of you realizing that you need to take another class before you can graduate. This full moon could be about letting go of being hard on yourself for making mistakes, right? Like maybe you are rethinking how you take care of yourself, or maybe you even this fact that like you feel frustrated, maybe you use the time you are now given before you can start your business. Maybe you use this time to commit to taking better care of yourself, to like start therapy, or lean into yoga, astrology, spirituality. There might be some romantic breakthroughs, secrets coming to light, tensions around February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 5th house. You may realize something about your partner. You may examine your own fears surrounding creativity, romance, children, and getting a chance to heal a part of yourself. Like I said, February 15th is a really beautiful romantic transit. February 16th, the sun will conjoin Saturn in your 6th house. And this is a callback to last year. This is the Saturn is always inspecting things, right? So here Saturn is inspecting your progress professionally when it comes to health matters, when it comes to your diet, your exercise, your everyday life. And if you've done a lot of work, this could be very rewarding, right? Like if you are in school, the time of graduation, let's say. If you haven't done a lot of work, this could be the time in which you need to adjust, and maybe there is frustration and some tough decisions that you have to make as a result. The sun enters your 7th house. Pisces season begins on the 18th, and there's a lovely new moon in your 7th house on February 20th. It's ruled by Jupiter in your 8th house, sextiling Mercury in the 6th house. New relationship is very much likely here, or new chapter in a relationship, right? It could be connected to, let's say you and your partner get a mortgage and you buy a home, and so now you are homeowners. Or maybe you get pregnant and that brings you closer. Not necessarily the most like babies are coming transit, but there's conception of some kind of partnership. And like I said, like signing a new contract, hitting a milestone in your relationship, starting to date someone new are all likely possibilities here. If you are a Libra rising, my lovely Libra risings, the sun is in your 5th house of romance, creativity, and children until February 18th, and you may be conceiving new ideas, right? I made Saturn candles, so as a Libra rising, I birthed something. So you may be dating, you may be connecting with your romantic partner, spending more time with children, and Venus is in your 6th house until the 20th. Venus in the 6th makes mundane more exciting and can also be a blessing for your health. Like Venus in the 6th could definitely bring like a protective effect, or put an umbrella over difficulties that you're struggling with and help you take care of yourself. So dating and also healing are here. The month begins complicated. On February 3rd, the sun in your 5th house squares Uranus in the 8th, possibly bringing topics from January 14th when Venus squared Uranus. Venus already made the same aspect, so take a look at January 14th. You can expect tensions surrounding money, different values, children, like you want children, your partner doesn't want children. Where does that leave your relationship? Creativity, you have different goals versus what your partner sees, what your partner wants. So disagreements are likely, especially considering that Venus in the 6th house squares Mars in the 9th, right around that time on February 4th. And those could be like more professional disagreements at the same time as there's some romantic tensions. So try to be proactive about change. Try to think outside the box, be creative, and open-minded. Let yourself be surprised, right? And watch out for professional drama, tensions with colleagues, tensions with foreign people, tensions surrounding your beliefs, ideological debates around February 4th. There's a full moon in Leo on February 5th. It squares Uranus in your 8th house. So those tensions that you're dealing with can be a source of growth. Potentially, the full moon in the 11th house affects your house of friendships, networks, social media, and your dreams, right? Take a look back at the new moon we had in Leo on July 29th, 2022. What kind of group project, social media project have you started? Have you pursued a dream? Funny enough, speaking of my candles, this was around the time I started making candles. So 6 months later here, this is my candle number 6, right? Sunlight, 2 Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn. Yeah, 6 candles I have produced, or like 6 batches. And they have all been successful. So seeing a culmination of some kind of bigger project, maybe Uranus in the 8th house brings a need to invest into something new, or an offer to collaborate, like an exciting partnership opportunity, or something that you're like unsure about, but it leads you to adjust the way you see the future, to adjust how you approach your creative process potentially as well. So yeah, like changes to friendships, changes to hopes and dreams, completing a project are likely here. Some tensions in the home, in your place of living, family drama are possible around February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto. This could be an old issue, an old drama you've been dealing with your family, or some new, skeleton in the closet coming out and making you think about things deeper. Watch out for power struggles and try to break through and heal if there is any tough feelings, tough emotions. A moment of peace and inspiration and understanding comes around Valentine's Day when Venus conjoins Neptune in your 6th house. This is February 15th. Very soft, very gentle, very calming energy. Watch out for, signing major contracts because it's not super detail oriented. There might also be a romantic relationship with a colleague around this time. The Sun conjoins Saturn. I just don't like Saturn conjoins the Sun because Saturn moves slowly and the Sun catches up with Saturn. But the Sun conjoins Saturn in your 5th house on February 16th. Testing your creativity, your romantic relationship, or your relationship with your children, or even putting pressures on your child somehow if you have a grown-up child or even not so grown-up child. That could be like growing pains. This is similar energy to January 22nd when Venus conjoins Saturn, and it's actually a completion of a year-long chapter because the Sun would have conjoined Saturn in January, February 2022. So here your creativity, your relationship gets tested, and if you've been working really hard, you can get rewarded. And let's say your creative project gathers attention and finds success. Or if you haven't done a lot of work over the last year, you may feel frustrated, sad, and need to make some changes. Similarly, changes to your relationship, or maybe your child needs to make some adjustments. The Sun enters Pisces, your 6th house, on February 18th, and we have an exciting new moon on February 20th. This is a new moon in your 6th house. It is ruled by Jupiter in Aries, your 7th house, and sextiles Mercury in Aquarius in your 5th house. So it seems like new beginnings at work, health, and service that are inspired by your business, that are inspired by your creative pursuits, that are inspired by your romantic relationship, or your relationship with and to the topic of children. Definitely like positive new beginnings, but it feels like they're not just about health. It feels like it's somewhat connected to your partnership and your romantic relationship. Like a very, immediate example would be getting pregnant, and so you're taking better care of your health. Or maybe you have a creative project that you're interested in and you're like rethinking your everyday life to fit that project or fit that new romantic relationship. If you are a Libra rising, how has your love life been? Are you feeling Jupiter in your 7th house now that all planets are direct? Let me know. If you are a Scorpio rising, the Sun is in your 4th house until February 18th, bringing a lot of focus to home and family, right? Like maybe you are spending time with family, maybe you are renovating, selling, buying a home, dealing with topics of property, real estate. And Venus is in her house Joy in your 5th house until February 20th. So very beautiful, romantically inspired time, a very creative time, very fertile time. So good time to birth something new, especially with a new moon in Pisces coming up on the 20th. So inception of new things is highly likely. The month begins tense. We have a square between the Sun in your 4th house and Uranus in your 7th house on February 3rd, possibly bringing up topics from mid-January when Venus squared Uranus. If you have dealt with any tensions between your family and your partner, your view of the family and your partner's view of the family, your problems connected to your place of living affecting your relationship, this is another review of that. And I would encourage you to be more proactive and flexible and instigate change versus be forced to make changes. Venus in the 5th also squares Mars in the 8th on February 4th. Here we're dealing with tensions between masculine and feminine energies. And this is very much like, disagreement around your creative project, disagreement around the topic of children. Your partner wants them, you don't want them, and now you're like kind of dealing with this. Venus is stronger in this argument, so I think you can find a way to compromise, but it's not necessarily going to be quick and easy. There's a full moon in Leo, your 10th house of career, on February 5th. It squares Uranus in the 7th house, so it could deal with your partner's changes, like maybe your partner gets a new job, maybe your partner gets a job that makes them move, and now you have to figure out your job situation. Maybe they get a promotion and now you can quit your job because they are making all the money in the world. Or, like maybe you're choosing to pursue a business partnership as well. It's not that it's like, it is a change to your house of career, but it could be a bit frustrating because of a tough square to Uranus. And look at what was happening in your professional life around late July 2022, early August 2022, because it's a completion of the chapter that you started at that time. There might be some tensions in your relationship with siblings, neighbors, some secrets coming to light, some harsh words getting exchanged, ideological debates around February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 3rd house. Watch out for being manipulative and obsessive and getting into power struggles. I like the energy around Valentine's Day. Venus will conjoin Neptune in your 5th house on February 15th. This is beautiful. This is romantic. This is inspired and creative and uplifting. But your judgment is a little bit foggy, so it's a good time to get swept away in a fantasy land with someone you trust, but maybe be careful if it's someone who has proven to not be a good seed or a good person for you. Your home and family matters get tested and potentially bring frustrations or challenges around February 16th when the Sun conjoins Saturn in your 4th house. Similar energy to January 22nd, and also a completion of a chapter started about a year ago when the Sun conjoined Saturn last time. This could be a completion of home renovation project, right? Like Saturn comes in to inspect your progress when it comes to home and family. Completion of a home renovation project, maybe, completion of a sale if you've been trying to sell your home, maybe a change to your family dynamic if you've been trying to upgrade your relationship with your family members. And if you've done a lot of work, it's good, it's rewarding, it's successful. If you haven't done a lot of work, there might be a certain frustration or a need to make tough choices in order to bring a better flow to your home and family dynamic. Pisces season begins on February 18th, and there's a lovely new moon on February 20th in your 5th house. So it's ruled by Jupiter in the 6th, exiled Mercury in the 4th. New beginnings to your house of romance, creativity, and children. If you're single, you may start dating someone. If you're in a relationship, this could be a changing point where your relationship moves onto a different level. You may very well get pregnant because it's a very moist sign. It's Pisces, wet, very fertile. So start of a creative project, birth of a baby is a possibility here. If you are a Sag rising, the Sun stays in your 3rd house until February 18th, and your mind is busier. You may be socializing more, interacting with other people, getting more text messages, writing, coming up with new ideas. And Venus is in your 4th house until February 20th. So home can be a source of joy. There might be more romance behind closed doors, more connection with the family, and perhaps you're bringing beauty into your home. The month starts off a bit shaky. We have the sun in the 3rd house squaring Uranus in your 6th house on February 3rd, possibly bringing topics from January 14th up for another round, because Venus squared Uranus on January 14th. So if you felt any tension connected to your work, to your schedule, feeling overwhelmed, feeling overloaded, any problems surrounding siblings, health, your immediate environment, but yeah, like workload, this might be like a breaking point. Tensions bubbling up, things bursting. Try to be proactive about change instead of being forced to, adjust and make changes that you don't want to make. Venus in the 4th house squares Mars in your 7th house on February 4th. So it's like still frustrating around those 3rd, 4th, 5th days. Venus in the 4th square Mars in the 7th. You and your partner may disagree about your place of living, any family relationship stuff. Like, maybe you want to spend the holidays. Are there any holidays coming up? Maybe you're thinking about the next Christmas, this Christmas 2023. But maybe you spend a lot of time with your family and your partner feels like they're not seeing you enough. Maybe you disagree about your vision of the future. It could be a lovely time to, air things out. Could actually be a very passionate time if you are in a healthy relationship. But, proceed carefully, try to compromise, and be mindful of potentially hurting your partner's feelings. There's a full moon in Leo, your 9th house, bringing changes to your house of education, publishing, legal, and travel matters on February 5th. It squares Uranus in the 6th house. So here it feels like you are completing, whatever's happening in your professional sector that maybe feels frustrating could encourage changes to education, where maybe you're completing education. Maybe you are traveling, maybe you're finishing a paper or a book, or like completing some kind of legal issue. I could see here as well. It's definitely, it's a completion of something you would have started around July 29, 2022. So late July, early August 2022, when we had a new moon in Leo. But yeah, I feel like either your beliefs are changing or your view of the world is changing, and that results in some kind of like break away from the old perspective, break away from the old job, break away from the old way of doing things. Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 2nd house of money and values on February 10th, and you can experience disagreements surrounding money and values. Maybe you are looking at your own fears around money and need to examine that. Any power plays where you are holding the money and kind of using them as the way to control your partner, or vice versa, may need to be examined and healed potentially. Venus conjoins Neptune in your 4th house on February 15th. This is very healing, very beautiful, romantic energy for your family relationships. Maybe you're spending time with your partner, having a nice night. This is like right before Valentine's Day. So it could be very, very like sensitive, forgiving, a lovely, lovely time. The sun conjoins Saturn on February 16th in your 3rd house, testing your communication, your writing projects, your skills, hobbies, business matters, and sibling relationship. We would have already had Venus conjoin Saturn on January 22nd, so perhaps take a look back if you remember what was going on around that time. And this is like the sun conjoined Saturn last year, right? About a year ago. And maybe you would have started a writing project, or you started looking for a job. So this is like an inspection. If you haven't done much and you still feel like you're in the same place, it could be a frustrating time where you need to make adjustments and make positive changes. But if you have done a lot of work, this could be a very rewarding time, right? Like you complete that writing project, you get your business official, you get your first client, you maybe like make strides in your sibling relationship. There could be a lot of exciting possibilities. The sun enters Pisces, your 4th house, on February 18th, and there's a new moon in your 4th house on February 20th. The new moon is ruled by Jupiter in Aries, your 5th house, and sextiles Mercury in Aquarius, your 3rd house. So new beginnings in the sector of home and family. Maybe you're moving in with your partner. Maybe you are just moving to a different home, or you're selling a home. With Jupiter and Aries ruling this new moon, it's either connected to you looking for more fun in your life, or it's connected to being pregnant, because new moon in the 4th could also be a sign of welcoming a new family member. Or maybe you're even building like an art room in your home, because with Jupiter in the 5th house, you have rediscovered your love for painting and you want to be able to paint away. So quite an exciting energy. I personally really like it. If you are a Capricorn rising, the sun stays in your 2nd house of money and values until February 18th. And maybe you are coming up with new money-making ideas, or hustling around, figuring out your savings situation, etc. And Venus is in your 3rd house until February 20th. So you enjoy good luck when it comes to siblings, neighbors, technology, writing. This could be like really lovely. Let's say you submitted your work for a writing competition. Maybe Venus in the 3rd house brings recognition and rewards, and you get the first place. If you do, let me know. Also, I think with Venus in the 3rd house until February 20th, you will just like really enjoy hanging out in the neighborhood. Of course, not everything is rosy. The sun in the 2nd house will square Uranus in the 5th on February 3rd, possibly bringing up topics from January 14th when Venus squared Uranus. Any tensions you've experienced around that time connected to money, you and your partner not being on the same page, you and your creative collaborator not being on the same page, tensions surrounding children, your partner wants to travel more and enjoy life a little bit more. Not that you can't enjoy life with children, but you know what I mean. It's a whole different life. Tensions connected to, romance, money, creativity, and children. Try to be proactive about welcoming change and avoid kind of pointing fingers and blaming the other person, because sometimes other people, like the tensions we face with them, can be a reflection of what's going on within us. Venus in the 3rd house squares Mars in your 6th house on February 4th, and there is some frustration between masculine and feminine energy, men and women in your life. Venus in the 3rd wants to spend some time writing or having fun, pursuing hobbies, and Mars in the 6th just says that you have like a million things to handle. So be strategic, plan well, and avoid succumbing to the frustration of Mars. Venus is stronger in this specific square, so I think you can find compromise and you can solve things in the positive way. There's a full moon in Leo, your 8th house, on February 5th. It brings changes to shared finances, debts, taxes, inheritance, can bring transformation of some fears and healing. It squares Uranus in the 5th house, so the healing can be connected to creativity, romance, and children. Maybe you invest into IVF, or you freeze your eggs, or maybe you get like a mortgage or something. So there's definitely some type of financial changes that could be both connected to you getting in debt, or you getting out of debt, or you making some kind of big purchase or big investment. It's a completion of something. Take a look at what was happening with your finances, with your partner's finances, with any loans, debts, taxes around July 29th when we had a new moon in Leo. Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 1st house on February 10th. So there might be some power struggles, tensions, a little bit of drama. If you are creating drama, take a look at, what are you trying to really say? And if other people are attacking you, they could be a reflection of your healing process. So don't run away from intensity, but try to see it as a learning opportunity. I like the energy around February 15th. Venus conjoins Neptune in your 3rd house. It's, around Valentine's Day, so you can have a lovely time going out. Maybe you meet someone in your local bar. Maybe you just enjoy time with neighbors, connect with new people, have fun. Watch out for spending too much money. Neptune definitely blurs all the boundaries. So watch out for getting lost in things, over drinking, overeating, overextending yourself. The Sun conjoins Saturn in your 2nd house on February 16th. Similar energy to January 22nd when Venus conjoined Saturn. And also similar energy to last year when the Sun conjoined Saturn in Aquarius, approximately end of January, early February. So here Saturn is inspecting your relationship with money, your sense of self-worth, your business, your savings, your values. Have you been pursuing projects that make you feel happy? And if you've worked hard, Saturn can give you a stamp of approval, bringing financial rewards, bringing a sense of financial stability. And if you haven't done a lot of work, it could be disappointing and melancholic and maybe forcing you to make the changes necessary and make some, commit to putting some money aside, let's say, every month. The Sun enters Pisces, your 3rd house, on February 18th. We have an exciting new moon in Pisces, your 3rd house, on February 20th. There are new beginnings connected to writing. So maybe you're starting a new project. It's ruled by Jupiter in the 4th house. So I wonder if you're writing about your personal life, your childhood, your family. Maybe you're inspired by your family, or you're inspired to write about your, your experiences, basically. New moon in the 3rd can definitely be about taking your skills to the next level, starting a business, starting to write. It could also be about new beginnings in the relationship with your siblings, you move into your brother's house, let's say, and you build a new relationship with them. You may be moving and meeting all the new people in your new neighborhood, connecting with people in your immediate environment, going to a new coffee shop, taking a different role within your local community. I think your circle is expanding, your immediate environment is expanding, and that could involve working with a sibling, starting a new project with a sibling. Basically, the biggest thing is what do you have to say and who do you want to say it to? And I think you can see changes connected to that. I'm getting tired of my glasses, so sometimes I take them off, but then I can't see anything. Anyways, if you are an Aqua rising, the Sun is in your 1st house until February 18th. So the Sun in the 1st gives you energy, gives you excitement about saying, I am this. You are reinventing, you're asserting yourself. Venus is in your 2nd house until the 20th, and your finances should be well right now. There might be more bonuses, more gifts, and as well more opportunities to spend money. You're more generous with others and they're more generous with you. The month begins shaky. The Sun in your 1st house squares Uranus in the 4th, likely bringing up topics, bringing back up. Anyways, Venus would have squared Uranus on January 14th. So here, this is the 2nd chapter. Take a look at what was happening in your home. Were there any tensions between you and your family, you and your building management, you and your place of living? Around that time, right? Your family, tensions between your goals and your family, because the Sun squaring Uranus will encourage you to break free from some limitations of the past, to break away from even things that are holding you back potentially, and rethink who you are, rethink your identity in comparison to your family and their goals. Be proactive about change. I keep saying that for every sign. If you are proactive, it's less likely that Uranus will slap you in the face. Even more drama the day after, February 4th, Venus squares Mars. Venus is in your second house, Mars is in the fifth. Tensions between different values. You and your partner may have different kind of understanding of how to parent your child or how to spend money, or even, how to pursue the creative project that you're working on with them. You can compromise, even if it's not immediately on February 4th. There will be some more positive energy in the air a few days after that. So definitely you can negotiate. Just make sure you're talking without pointing fingers and getting all angry. There's a full moon in Leo on February 5th, bringing changes to your house of relationships. It's squaring Uranus in the 4th. So once again, some kind of need for freedom, need to break away from the past, whether that means you are healing a relationship with your family, you're healing your childhood wounds, and that brings a transformation of your relationship. Or there might be like a literal thing like, a pipe bursts in your home. I hope it doesn't. I hope everything is well. But like, let's say something happens where you need to move out and you end up moving in with your partner, because the full moon is happening in the house of relationships, and it feels like change and transformation to relationships, right? Like breaking a relationship off, walking away, or committing, moving in with a partner, starting a partnership, starting a business partnership. It is a full moon, but it's still it's like a change to your relationship status. And take a look at what was happening in your love life around July 29th when we had a new moon in Leo. There might be some, more clarity about how you're standing in your own way on February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto in your 12th house, examining and seeing how you're being self-defeating, how you're being, how you are, what kind of flaws you have, what kind of things you need to let go. Could be a lovely opportunity for that, as well as like breakthroughs in therapy I can see around February 10th. Venus conjoins Neptune in your second house on February 15th. And there's opportunities connected to making money and spending money, because Venus conjunct Neptune in the second house could be a very inspirational time, right? Like this could be Venus and Neptune. You come up with a great idea for a new book that you will write and make money from. Or you invest into art, maybe you get a beautiful present. There's like exciting energy leading up into Valentine's Day. The Sun conjoins Saturn in your first house on February 16th, and Venus conjoins Saturn on January 22nd, perhaps bringing tensions and a need to make some kind of commitment to your own vision, to your creative project, to your commit to yourself. But the Sun conjunct Saturn is also a culmination of a story that started about a year ago in early 2022 when the Sun conjoined Saturn last time. So here you are looking like Saturn will test your commitment to personal growth. It will test your commitment to your well-being, to your health, to your healing, to your journey, right? Like the Sun conjoins Saturn, and if you've been slacking and you've been not taking any steps towards bettering your life, this could be a harsh moment. This could be like a rude awakening where you're forced to make tough choices. But if you have been working hard, if you have been committed to your fitness journey, let's say, or your business or your education, like anything like that, this could be a very rewarding time where you get recognition and find success. The Sun enters Pisces, your second house, on February 18th. And there's a lovely new moon in Pisces on February 20th. The new moon is ruled by Jupiter and Aries in your third house. So it feels like you're monetizing your skills or your knowledge, or you're starting to teach kids or teach something that you're excited about. At least, this is the the time to plant a seed. It's time to set your intention about getting closer to your dream. There's also a potential of like taking on a new role within the collective and like building up your sense of self-worth. Like, maybe you're starting a business and you're like opening a coffee shop, or maybe you're getting a raise or finding a new job. Feels exciting to me. And, keep me posted, Aqua Risings, on how it goes for you. If you are a Pisces rising, the sun is traveling through your 12th house until February 18th. And sun in the 12th tends to be more introspective time. Maybe you are kind of withdrawing a little bit, stepping away from social media, focusing on healing, focusing on letting go of self-defeating tendencies, connecting with your spiritual self, pulling more tarot cards, journaling, meditating, anything like that. But Venus at the same time is in your first house until the 20th. I love Venus in the first house, together with Venus in the 5th. So it tends to be a more, a time of enjoying more gifts, more tokens of appreciation. You're better at manifesting, you're more charming, you're better at attracting things your way. So really lovely. But not all is rosy. We have the sun squaring Uranus on February 3rd, possibly bringing up topics from January 14th when Venus squared Uranus. Here we're dealing with sun in the 12th squaring Uranus in the 3rd. It's like some tensions connected to your schedule, to your siblings, to your neighbors, to your skills. Sun in the 12th, I think, really wants solitude and wants healing and wants potentially to like let go of the past. But Uranus in the 3rd says that there's all these immediate things that require your attention. Or, actually, like, I think with Uranus in the 3rd, there's also a desire for freedom and desire to pursue new things, a desire to be free to say what you want to say, to build your schedule, to maybe spend more time with neighbors, to connect with other people. But the sun in the 12th says that you like still need to do more healing, right? As always, you need to let something go. You need to like be clear about what is it that you want. So try to be proactive about the changes that you make. Try to lean into spiritual topics because the sun is in the 12th house. So maybe meditation, maybe journaling, maybe tarot can be very helpful right now. Astrology. Book a reading with me. There is some tension between you and your neighbors or your family members, or, even like problems in your place of living around the same time too, because Venus squares Mars on February 4th. I think you can compromise and you will end up like the love ends up winning, but it could be like tense and frustrating. Maybe you have a neighbor who annoys you and, it really takes all of your patience to not react to them. There's a full moon in Leo on February 5th. It brings changes to your house of health, work, and service. It squares Uranus in the 3rd house, so there might be some surprises related to your schedule, to your skills, to your business, to your siblings. Something that shakes up your immediate environment and leads you to make changes to your work, let's say. Let's say you are getting an opportunity to become a teacher and like you get a chance to study something, but that calls you to let something go in your everyday life. Maybe you are, completing a job or releasing something you used to do every day now for the sake of pursuing this more exciting opportunity. It could be frustrating, but it could be also rewarding. And you can expect also changes to your health. You can expect like completing a work project and just like setting something go, letting something be, like, being free. Take a look at what was happening with work, health, even your pets around July 29th, 2022, because this is now the completion of the chapter started around that time. Tensions with friends, like facing your fears around reaching your dreams, facing some kind of darkness and power struggles with friendships or your network is possible around February 10th when Mercury conjoins Pluto. The energy shifts later. I really like February 15th, so leading into Valentine's Day, Venus conjoins Neptune. You are very inspired, generous, sensitive, romantic. Even your dreams may come true. Like, your power to manifest your dreams is very strong around that time. The Sun conjoins Saturn on February 16th, testing your commitment to your mental health, I think. Your commitment to being a healer, your commitment to being more spiritual, even your commitment to volunteering if you volunteer. How dedicated are you to bettering your life? Because it's so easy sometimes to just say that we want to change, right? But like, how hard is it to actually change? So the Sun would have conjoined Saturn early in 2022, and this is now a moment of like a test. Have you made enough changes? If you have, you may feel happy, uplifted, like you may feel free from something that used to hold you back, like a relationship, fear, a debt. If you haven't done a lot of work, this could be a frustrating time, kind of forcing you to re-examine, maybe sign up for therapy, make some tough decisions and tough choices. It might be a similar energy to January 22nd when Venus conjoins Saturn, so take a look at that for some more clues. Pisces season begins on February 18th. This is exciting. You get more energy. You're finally coming out of the shadows of the Aquarius season. And there's a lovely new moon on February 20th in 1 degree Pisces in your first house. It's ruled by Jupiter in the second, and it sextiles Mercury in the 12th. So you are reinventing yourself. You are starting a new chapter in your life that may involve spiritual work, that may involve different jobs, like changing a job because it's ruled by Jupiter in the second house. You are going for more money, but you're also potentially going for a bigger sense of like validation. So the changes that you're making, be that to your physical body, be that to your place of living or your job, they're all dedicated to kind of growing and feeling better in your own skin. So enjoy. I think early in the month is more shaky. Later on, things smooth out a little bit. And if you'd like a personal horoscope, reach out to me. You can email me at anastasia.das.astrology@gmail.com. Or you can always book a reading at my website, anastasia.astrology.com. And, ask me any questions and let me know how these transits are affecting you in the comments below. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.